we're down to the final 3 contestants of Matt James's season of The Bachelor, and Women Tell All and Fantasy Suites are right around the corner. Hey guys, welcome back to another shared news from home. We are getting so close to the end of Matt James's journey, and we have got to talk about what we're expecting in the weeks to come. But before we get started, if you're new here, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell so we can keep you updated on the rest of this crazy season. As always, I'm your host, Fiona Zaring, and today I'm joined by the wonderful Gabby Gonta and Mariah Davis. You guys, this is the promo of all promos. There is a lot to unpack. Let's just dive straight into the clips because we all know what this Women Tell All is going to be about.
Coming up next week, it's a shocking Women Tell All.
It's just hard to hear yourself being called a hoe, an idiot, or a shady bitch.
So, you guys, I have to say, as much as I have been looking forward to Matt finding love, I have really been looking forward to Women Tell All because there was so much drama, and I just want to hear somebody explain themselves. I mean, I'm dying to see how many topics, how many fights we can even get to. Gabby, how are you feeling leading into Women Tell All?
The same exact way as you, Fiona. I'm ready to see them rehash all of the drama that went down this season. It's funny because the Women Tell All is usually, a few weeks after filming has settled and, things have calmed down. So I'm wondering if, those feuds are still going to be there and if they're going to, restart up all the drama. It looks like it from this promo, especially since Victoria being a part of this group and causing so much of it and just being, one of the craziest seasons of the girls in the house. I'm really excited for this Women Tell All.
Yeah, especially when these women have now had a chance to see what people have said behind their backs or during their private interviews. I can only imagine that every single one of them has something that they want to address and they're done playing nice. We did have a couple women who kept it very classy throughout their time on the show. But, after you hear yourself being slandered on national television, I'm sure you're just ready to stand up for yourself at this point. So this is the most anticipated episode of the season, every season, as far as I'm concerned.
I totally agree with you. One person I'm definitely looking forward to seeing as a part of Women Tell All is Katie, because she was sort of a mediator. She spoke her mind all season long, so it'll be interesting to see what she brings to the table.
Some of you can't accept what it was that you did in the house.
All of your favorite women from this season are back.
So, I mean, just from that tiny clip, it looks like we're going to be getting more of Katie telling it like it is. I think she's one of the girls that was able to sort of be a part of the drama without ever being truly a bad guy, at least in my opinion. What do you think she's going to be saying on this stage, Mariah?
I think Katie is going to pull a classic Katie move and just come through and stand up for everyone. I feel like we can count on her to say the things that maybe a more quiet or reserved person may not want to say. But I agree. She may be like immersing herself in the drama or the BS of the season, but she's not a fire starter. She's more of like, I'm just going to put it out right here, right now. So we're already seeing Katie come through right there. That's what I'm most excited to see, is her to just stand up for the little guy and just put all the meanness to bed.
Me too. I think Katie has been amazing all season, and I think we've called her the mom a few times of the group because she's just kind of on everyone's side trying to, calm down drama and just get to the root of why everyone was there when they were all, vying for Matt's heart. So it's going to be interesting to have her there. I'm wondering if any of the other contestants sort of back Katie up and, try to redeem themselves a little bit and get on that good side as opposed to being a part of the Mean Girl crew if there were a few of them. So I don't know. I'm wondering if we're going to see the same personalities that we saw on the season or if these girls are a little bit different now or trying to show a different side. I think Brittany right here is another one that I'm excited to hear more from on this night.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, Brittany had it pretty rough, all things considered. So I'm happy that we'll get to see her, get to hear from her, because I think she definitely deserves a chance to address some of those girls.
Didn't sign up to get my name slandered.
You called her a high-end escort.
I was angry.
So I certainly hope that isn't Anna using the excuse of being angry for her behavior. We know they like to creatively edit these things. But listen, we've talked about this a lot. Those were some really intense accusations that nobody should just take lightly. And I think, as you know, much remorse as Anna showed when she left the show, it would be really, really good for her and for Bachelor Nation to get a genuine apology here. Do you think we'll be getting another apology from Anna, Gabby?
That's a good question. I think I was really impressed with the way Anna left after all of this unfolded because she was one of the few who really just owned what she said and, mentioned that she felt bad about it and was going to learn from it when she was having that conversation with Matt. And I'm sure it was a little bit of, you're only upset now that you got caught because it was kind of, after the fact she was apologizing. But I really do think she was sorry as opposed to some of the other girls. So it'll be interesting to see what she says here. I don't know if she ever got to apologize to Brittany while on the show. So maybe this will be the moment once they're back in the same room together.
I completely agree. I think we're going to finally see her kind of redeem herself. Her apology while she was on the show seemed super insincere. It was like she completely stuck to this narrative that she created for Brittany with no remorse. And then when she started to face the consequences of that, then she was really sorry and didn't want to go home. So I think it's in her best interest to address this in a classy way. And we all want to see Brittany get an apology. I would imagine, I mean, if I were Anna and I, played this awful mean girl role and did this awful thing to this woman, I would reach out to her personally already. Whether or not that's happened, maybe it has, but regardless, we all want to see them make amends and that apology be made because we just want to see that positive example set. And that was a nasty rumor. That's not, I mean, that's a rumor that you just can't, you have to make several amends for if you're going to go around saying that about somebody.
Yes, definitely a huge accusation. Now, Anna, she has her faults. She did some nasty stuff and she definitely needs to own up to it. But I think a lot of us out there are anticipating seeing Queen Victoria again and what she's going to say. Because, of course, there's a chance, and it looks like it from this trailer, that she might be defending her behavior.
And the gloves come off.
Yes, I was involved in drama because I was going through levels of pain.
That's fake as hell.
So Mari is someone who I didn't get to know too well. I feel like she was there and then she wasn't, but I love that response because as far as I'm concerned, Victoria needs to just blanket apologize and then apologize again. She does not get to defend the things she said. How do you feel, Mariah? What do you think she should do on Women Tell All?
I feel like we've already seen her kind of justify her behavior in posts she's made and her Good Morning America interview. It was all, well, I only did this because of this, and it was never of malicious intent. It was all just to be playful and joking, which obviously, if you have eyes and you can hear and you can be aware of what's going on, that's not what's happening. So I would like to see her take ownership, but we can see already there's no surprise to this either. She's not going to do that. I think we're going to continue to get excuses out of her, and she's going to make herself a victim to try to justify her actions. And I'm here for Mari and literally everyone else to just call her out on that. I'm not saying that there needs to be a group attack on Victoria because I don't think that's very nice either, but let's call it how we see it. We were being mean and we did it on purpose. So let's all just accept responsibility and move on.
I think, on paper, that's definitely what these women should do. I don't know if it's going to go down that smoothly just because of what we've seen with them in the past. But in terms of Victoria, I think she's been fake before. So I wouldn't be surprised if on here she is just fake again and just really insecure and trying to cover up, as you were saying, for the things that she said. And it seems like she doesn't really, feel bad about it. Maybe after seeing a few more episodes and just, hearing from more of the women, she feels differently. But, like we said in interviews and posts, it seems like has a pretty strong head on her shoulders still. So I'm wondering if this is going to be a similar moment to the Men Tell All from last season when Yosef came back and had a moment, where he was able to redeem himself, where Chris Harrison asked, this is your moment to apologize, take back what you said, etc. And he didn't do it because he felt strongly about what he did and the fact that it was right. So I'm wondering if Victoria's going to lean into that, or if by the end of it, she's going to apologize and try to move on a little bit.
It will certainly be interesting to see. I think I'm looking forward to that. And Matt's reaction, the most overall, because he did a really good job when he was aware of drama, cutting it out, sending Mean Girls home. But there certainly was a lot of stuff that he never caught wind of, that he was watching play out for the first time, just like us. So it's going to be really interesting to see his reaction.
Plus, Matt returns to face the women that went home.
I care about him still so much.
Is there any part of you that thinks maybe I made the wrong call?
So I don't know about you guys, but I'm really looking forward to that Serena P conversation. And I'm also really looking forward to a conversation with Abigail. I feel like there was some unfinished business with those two. What are you hoping to see from Matt, Mariah?
I'm hoping that Matt, he's going to see these things that he was told about, and for the most part, we saw him take the women's word for it, which that's something I really respected out of him, was he just took their word for it. It's been so frustrating in past seasons to see someone say, this is going on, and then whoever the bachelor or bachelor is just kind of brush it off and kind of ignore it. So I hope that he addresses these things. He's been really good about it thus far, so I don't think he's going to disappoint there. You mentioned Abigail. I think Abigail, it deserves an apology from Matt. He waved that rose around in front of her face and then sent her home with the worst breakup ever. Like, that's the worst thing you could say in that scenario. So I'm happy that Abigail is going to have her time to speak, because she was so quiet on the show. She never got herself in any drama. And though that was an awful way to break up with someone, she handled it with such class and grace, which of course we expected nothing less from her. So I'm looking forward to seeing the two of them have a conversation. I think that's needed to be had, and that can kind of create some closure for her. I would imagine that's what she needs right now after that experience, is a little bit of closure.
Okay, first of all, can we talk about this beard moment that's happening? Do we like it or not? Matt with a huge beard. It's kind of crazy because I think I like the clean shaven. Just maybe because I'm used to that more, over the past few weeks. But let us know in the comments what you think, which beard, situation you prefer on Matt. But otherwise, I am also looking forward to hearing from Abigail and Serena P. I think they're really playing it up in this promo that maybe there's still something between him and Serena P. They did have something strong, and then she felt strongly this week to let herself go. But clearly right here, she says she still has a lot of love for him. So I'm wondering if they'll rekindle anything, or if they'll just finally get a little bit more closure as well.
All right, you guys. Well, next week is Women Tell All. And then after that, we have Fantasy Suite dates.
In 2 weeks, Matt's journey to find love continues.
I'm about to make one of the most important decisions in my life.
Each time that I get to spend with you, it gets better.
So
Ooh.
things are getting really serious, you guys. And I have to say, it's been kind of a messy journey, full of a lot of drama. But these final 3 have really strong connections with Matt. It sort of feels like against all odds, he's found 3 really strong connections. What are your thoughts about these women heading into Fantasy Suites, Mariah?
I would have to agree. I guess, yes, I've had my favorites on the show, people I really liked, and I would have liked to get to know more, see more of a connection with Matt. But at the end of the day, I'm really happy with the girls that he has remaining. Bree was she's my first favorite because she was the first one-on-one date. And then Michelle swooped in, and I was like, God, I don't know who my favorite is anymore. But after this last episode and this promo alone, I'm really starting to lean a little bit more towards Bree. This image right here, it just looks like love. They clearly shared a very special moment together, and they're very close. So I'm really happy with the remaining women.
Me too. These top 3 are so stellar and have great connections with Matt. I think I felt so much in love with Michelle even more this week. So I think she would have to be my top pick, because every single time she was just talking about Matt to her mom, she started to tear up, and it just seems so real and genuine. And she just seems like such a real person that, none of it's fake, none of it's for TV. She's just really falling for this guy. So I'm personally rooting for Michelle, but it looks like he's gonna have, amazing dates with all of these women next week.
Yes, it definitely looks like they're all going to be incredible. Let's take a look at a clip from Michelle's date.
I'm in love with Matt. People fall in and out of love, and love is not the end-all be-all.
It's going to be the most difficult decision I've ever made.
It hurts in pieces.
So, honestly, there was a lot to unpack just in that little bit. I don't even know what to make of this. I hate to see Michelle in tears. Heading into this, what do you think is going to happen with Michelle, Gabby? Is she going to make it to our final 2? Is she going to, get the boot? How are you feeling?
Well, these tears aren't a good indication that she's going to stay, but as we know in Bachelor land, people cry every week for good and bad reasons, so who knows? I really think based on the rose ceremony this week specifically, she got the first rose, right? And then it was Rachel and then it was Bree. So if that order matters to Matt, then I really think she'll at least be in the top 2.
So, based on this promo alone, as much as I have been rooting for Michelle, it doesn't look so good for her. I honestly am thinking that it's going to be Rachel and Bree, the final 2, which makes me sad, but at least Bree's in there because I really, really love the 2 of them together. Michelle and Matt, they had an instant connection on their one-on-one, and America fell in love with them. Everyone was like, it's over, we're done, Michelle's the winner. But I think it got to the point to where maybe her feelings are more advanced than Matt's. That's my interpretation of this promo. I hope I'm wrong. I don't think I am.
Well, we will definitely all be sad to see her go home, but she has been an absolute favorite all season long. It's so tough when we get to this point of the show. We start to stress out, and honestly, the women who can be rock solid all season long start to have some doubts. Like, we kind of see Rachel freaking out in this next clip.
I'm in love with Matt, and he's with another woman right now. I can't do this anymore.
I feel like everything that I was working towards is starting to crumble.
So this is something we have seen season after season. Someone who has a really strong connection with the lead starts to feel suddenly the weight of him having or her having multiple other romances during Fantasy Suite Week. It really changes the game, to say the least. So what do you think? I mean, they're kind of teeing it up like Rachel might be considering going home or considering, self-eliminating. Mariah, do you think this is actually on the table?
I wouldn't be surprised. I hate to say that if she were threatening to go home, that it was like a strategy play, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was, not just because it's her, but I feel like we see that in past seasons when we get to the fantasy suites. There's always 1 or 2 people who are really, really unhappy. I mean, everyone's unhappy with it, but there's always that one person who's like, I can't do this anymore. But that doesn't always necessarily mean they leave. So I would be surprised, honestly, if Rachel left, but maybe that's a strategy play, testing to see how devoted Matt really is to her. And I don't know. I hate to say that it was all strategy, but it's looking like it to me.
That is definitely an interesting take. I think this is always the hardest week for me to try to imagine how they're feeling because I just absolutely could not handle it. You become friends with these girls, I'm assuming, a decent amount, and then you're all dating the same guy, so you can't help but imagine them with each other, and it's just like, I'm sure, gut-wrenching. So on top of that, they're all staying at the same resort. So as we've seen for the last few seasons, it's not only that, they're traveling or maybe get to do something cool for the fantasy suites and you're a little bit more removed from it. In the last few seasons, they're living in the same, this is a giant resort. But then the last one was the La Quinta, which was a little bit smaller. Peter's season, they even had all the women staying in the same room. So then you come back from that date and you're basically staring them right in the face after it and asking how it went. So that's obviously not a typical situation in a real relationship, and just another reason why The Bachelor is so crazy. But I think that's going to definitely take a toll on these girls, and clearly Rachel especially here.
Yeah, I literally say this every time I watch The Bachelor, but I don't even think I would want to make it to Fantasy Suite Week. That is how stressful I imagine this situation to be. I would rather it not work out than go through this. Whether or not Rachel, is playing a strategy, sending herself home, or actually sending herself home, something is going to make Matt very upset.
You okay? No. No, I'm not. I'm sorry, man. I'm very sorry. Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I'm sorry to me sounds like you're saying I'm sorry something went wrong or something didn't work out. And this late in the game, I just can't imagine what it is other than, one of the women who he was hoping would stick around leaving. I can't imagine they start, fighting over something. I mean, what do you make of this, Mariah?
It could be that. It could be because somebody left. We talked about Rachel being somebody who leaves. Or it could be also him having to send somebody home. He's in a weird position where he's gonna have to break somebody's heart. And as I kind of touched on earlier, I think my girl Michelle might be the one going home. I would cry too if I was Matt and I had to send the nicest, like teacher, sweet woman ever home and break her heart. She's clearly head over heels in love with him. So it could be either one. It could be Rachel threatening to go home, or, maybe actually going home, or he's just really torn with having to send Michelle home. Maybe not. I'm not trying to pick on my girl Michelle. I love her, but that is my prediction.
I'm also really torn because the only time we've ever seen Matt act like this and tear up and get really emotional is when Serena P sent herself home this week. And he is a big talker, he's been great with words all season. And when she was breaking up with him, he was just silent, didn't know what to say, didn't know what to do, and then was obviously crying in his interview after that. So it seems like, even in this week, it would be even a stronger emotion if one of the top 3 girls sent herself home. So that's what I'm thinking. But at the same time, during the rose ceremony this week, they were all so confident in accepting his rose that I just don't see them, having any doubts in their relationship. So I don't know. I don't have an answer because it's so tough.
Yeah, it's really tough. And honestly, I think these are some of the crying clips that they've been teasing us with all season long. So to have this playing out this late in the game is definitely sad to see. I mean, Matt has tried so hard. You can tell he cares so deeply for all of these women. And honestly, in this next clip, Chris seems genuinely worried about him.
You know if you can do this anymore? To be honest with you, I don't know, Chris.
So to get this close to the end and not be sure if he can continue moving forward, I love, Mariah, that you presented the other option of him just being really choked up about breaking up with the women, because I'm having such a hard time imagining one of them, self-eliminating. I just can't really imagine that. But at this point, anything is possible. It feels like one of those Chris Harrison moments where he's about to say it's the most shocking turn of events ever. I mean, how are you feeling, Gabby?
Exactly. We've been seeing this moment in teasers for weeks and weeks. We're finally getting it. It's basically the Colton jumping the fence moment, the big moment that we're always waiting for in the season when the lead is just totally struggling and Chris Harrison has to run after them and take care of them. So I don't know. In Colton's case, it was his number one girl who he wanted to end up being with. She was having doubts and, he was not okay with it. So I'm wondering if that is going to be the same issue with Matt here.
That's a good point. I kind of thought the same thing. It could be if what really happens is Rachel ends up leaving. We've heard the rumors again. He could end up pulling a Colton and just breaking up with both Brie and Michelle and calling it quits, which is, follow your heart. That's the whole point of the show. But it's disappointing because that's like 2 episodes or more, I don't know, that we don't get to see. So we want to see things play out. It is interesting to see Matt get emotional, like you said, Fiona, because we haven't seen him get emotional all season except for when Serena P left. So this is something that they've teased all season long, and we've been waiting to see this kind of emotion. So I think what seeing him kind of express himself in this way is telling me is how emotionally and mentally invested he is in this process and in each of these women.
I totally agree with you. And I have to say, this final clip makes that even more crystal clear. He truly seems devastated.
It's all coming up on The Bachelor.
I don't mean to laugh. He just looks so heartbroken. I wasn't counting on there being a chance that he might walk away from this, not engaged, or not in love at the very least. Maybe he didn't propose, but it just felt like it was kind of a given. And now maybe they're just doing their job really well, but I'm starting to have doubts. I mean, could he walk away from this alone? Is that something we need to start considering, Gabby?
I don't know. I certainly hope not. But I think it's interesting. Back a few clips ago, his mom was talking to him and she was saying, love is great, but people fall in and out of love all the time. You need a foundation, you need a lot more to it if you're going to have a marriage that is successful. So I'm wondering if he's like fully in love with all three of these women and now having to decide, who do I see most a future with, who's, better material for being my wife for the day-to-day stuff like that. So, I mean, it's definitely champagne problems, right? If he is in love with three women and just has to choose who's going to be the best for him, because so many people don't have options like that. But it doesn't come without an emotional toll, and we are clearly seeing it here.
I think there is a big possibility that we see yet another bachelor or, bachelorette walk away not finding love, it not quite working out, which would break my heart because we've heard from day one that Matt has had the most participation or the most contestant signups out of any bachelor in history. So for all of these women to just be dying to have a chance to even meet Matt, to nobody wind up with him, would just be devastating. But also, I know y'all ladies out there are secretly kind of happy because you're thinking there's still a chance. And you may be right, there may still be a chance. So it can kind of be a good thing or a bad thing. I feel bad for Matt. We just talked about him being really emotional for this next episode, and that kind of has me wondering the sequence of how this came to be. Did he go and have a conversation with somebody? Did somebody come and have a conversation with him that ultimately led to a disappointing and kind of emotional conversation? So we're going to be able to see all of that play out, and that could also give us another kind of hint as to whether or not we think that Matt is going to walk away having found real, long-lasting, genuine love, or if Matt James is still going to be on the market.
You are so right. There is so much to consider, you guys. I have to say, we've been played by Bachelor producers before. We do our best to break down these trailers, but they truly are so creative and strategic with the editing. So I just have to say, I'm dying to see Women Tell All, dying to see the Fantasy Suites week, and honestly, at this point, have no prediction as to how the season is going to wrap up. So with that being said, you guys, I want to know your final predictions for what is to come in these final weeks of Matt James's season. Let us know down in the comments. And if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell so you don't miss out on any future videos. As always, I'm your host, Fiona Zaring. I was joined by the wonderful Gabby Ganta and Mariah Davis. If you want to come say hi, our social handles are on the screen right now. Thank you all so much for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye.